Hi kids, I'm Martin Luther King Jr., an American activist and minister who made one of the biggest changes in American history. I'm going to share with you my life story today. Let's go! This is the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia. This is one of my favorite places during my childhood days. Come on inside! My father was a pastor in this church. I also became a co-pastor later on. That's my family. My dad, Michael King Sr., and my mom, Alberta Kristen Williams. I also had an elder sister and a younger brother. I was born in Atlanta, Georgia, a state in USA, on January 15, 1929. I was named Michael King Jr. So here's how my name changed. My dad was a pastor who attended many religious meetings across the world. On one such trip to Germany, he met a German reformer named Martin Luther. My dad was so inspired by him that he changed both our names. I became known as Martin Luther King Jr. or MLK. That was me as a child, and I loved books. I always felt there is power in words. I had a best friend to play with. But one day, he said his parents didn't want him to play with me because I was colored and he was white. I didn't understand why we couldn't be friends because of the color of my skin. That was when Mom sat me down and explained to me the history of slavery and all about the segregation, meaning the separation by race. My mom taught me an important lesson, that is to have more love in your life than hate. And you must never feel you are less than anyone else in this world. Well, then I went on to Booker T. Washington High School, and I was a very smart kid and a very good speaker. I actually skipped grades and finished college very fast. One day, I won a speech contest in Valdosta, Georgia, and on the way back to Atlanta, I was forced to stand through the long ride home so the white people could sit. Colored people were always treated unfair. That was the angriest I had ever been in my life. Well, I loved education. I went to Morehouse College, and I also studied religion at the Crozer Theological Seminary. I went on to finish my PhD doctorate at the Boston University. This was when I met Coretta Scott and fell in love. We got married on 18 June 1953 in Alabama. We were blessed with 4 beautiful children. I used to read a lot of books, and 2 people's works inspired me a lot. One was Henry David Thoreau, who talked about civil disobedience, and the other was Mahatma Gandhi, who talked about the peaceful methods of nonviolence. One day, on December 1st, 1955, in Montgomery, Alabama, Rosa Parks was arrested for refusing to stand up and offer her seat to a white person. I got my chance to take a stand. I, along with other activists, planned a citywide protest called Montgomery Bus Boycott. It was a peaceful nonviolence protest that lasted for 381 days. We walked for miles and not ride the public buses, so eventually the buses go out of business. This protest was a success, and eventually the Supreme Court ruled out racial segregation in transportation as unconstitutional, meaning wrongful. So I became a national figure and known as a spokesman of civil rights movement. I then started off the Birmingham campaign movement to desegregate public facilities in Birmingham, Alabama. As part of the campaign, we did many mass meetings, sit-ins, and marches. I was then arrested for breaking the law. As a response, I wrote a letter from the Birmingham jail itself, saying that it was my moral responsibility to break unjust laws and act towards it. More young students continued on the peaceful protests, but they were treated very unfairly by the police, and this was all over the media. So an agreement was reached within 90 days on this Birmingham campaign to desegregate public facilities. This victory caused me a lot of violence. People bombed my house, I was arrested, but I refused to give up because I knew I was doing the right thing. At this time, a civil rights activist called Philip Randolph suggested a massive march on Washington for jobs and freedom. This march happened on August 28, 1963, and about 250,000 people gathered in front of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. This was when I gave my most famous I Have a Dream speech. A key moment of the speech is when I said, I have a dream that my 4 children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I also said, I have a dream that little black boys and girls will be able to join hands with little white girls and boys as brothers and sisters. After this march, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was passed, where it outlaws the discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. I also received the Nobel Peace Prize in that year for my leadership on the civil rights movement and my racial justice through the nonviolent actions. Our biggest change in American history was coming when we peacefully marched from Selma, Alabama to the state capital of Montgomery for the voting rights of colored people. After many clashes, people from every state came and stood with us. Be it colored, white, kids, students, 25,000 of us all successfully marched to the state capital of Montgomery, where I delivered my most moving speech. I was then assassinated when I was 39 years old on April 4, 1968 at Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. This later became a National Civil Rights Museum. In 2011, I had a memorial built for me in Washington, D.C. Also, every third Monday was declared a holiday in January to honor me by President Ronald Reagan. So kids, remember my key principles. Have more love in your life than hate. Never feel that you're less than anyone else. The time is always right to do what is right. Don't give up easily, keep moving forward, and follow peaceful non-violence methods to achieve success. Well kids, we've come to the end of my story. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to Kids Light Up channel. Bye bye!